Kumusta ka? Thank you for following along with me, and thanks for your encouragement and helpful suggestions and advice so far. So in my last update I said I'd be looking at introductions, but after 2 weeks of dithering I've dialed that back slightly. Today's update will now be about greetings instead. We're keeping things very simple. As a little bit of background, I'm using the textbook Magbinisay Kitab Primer as the basis for my studies. It's a traditional textbook split into topics and has dialogues, grammar, and tasks to complete. It contains 13 lessons, unlucky for some, so I think the structure will provide a good framework for my own learning. And as each section is only brief, the first has 7 pages, I thought I might be able to complete one lesson in a week in the 5 hours that I've allotted myself. This hasn't worked out though, as there's a surprising amount of ground to cover. As an example, the first lesson covers greetings and introductions, but brings in the singular and plural forms of certain words, and how to structure 3 different types of question, so it feels a little bit like being thrown in at the deep end. I think the book maybe was designed for classroom study rather than self-study, but considering there are hardly any Cebuano guides out there, I'm going to commit to it, as it's a very valuable resource. Also, if you've used the same textbook, I'd really be keen to hear how you found it, and I'd love to know if you have any advice about how to get the best out of it. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you the greetings that I've learned. I'll then go on to talk about some insights that I learned from them, and finally I'll point out some really helpful resources that there are, particularly for those of you who are studying. Also, I'll add the resources that I come across to my website, learningsebuanowithchris.com, and I'll pop them in the description that's associated with this episode as well. Okay, let's get started. So as with English, there are lots of different ways to greet people in Cebuano, and greetings for different times of the day include Maayong buntag, which means good morning, Maayong udto, which means good high noon, Maayong hapon, which means good afternoon, and Maayong gabii, which means good evening, and Maayong adlaw, which means good day. To keep it simple, you can respond in the same way as you greeted, basically repeating the greeting back in the same way that we do in English. And if you wanted to personalize the response, you can add usab kanimo. For example, Maayong buntag usab kanimo means good morning to you too if you're responding. Another way of greeting someone is to ask how they are. Kumusta ka? How are you? Kumusta ka? This can be shortened to just Kumusta, or it can be made polite by adding the word man. For example, Kumusta man ka? Kumusta man ka? How are you? To respond to that, you could say Maayong man, I'm good. This could be shortened to just Maayo, or it could be added to as follows: Maayong man, salamat. Maayong man, salamat. I'm good, thank you. Or Maayong man, ikaw? Maayong man, ikaw? I'm good. And you? So a simple dialogue might go, Maayong buntag. Maayong buntag usab kanimo. Kumusta man ka? Maayong man ikaw. Maayong man salamat. So you can see that what I've learned is pretty basic, to say the least. But there are a few interesting things that have come out of it, and I'll talk about those next. Also, if you're interested in learning more greetings, I'll mention that later when we're looking at resources. So one word that we've come across a couple of times is maayo, which means good. We've seen it in maayong buntag and maayong man, for example. The thing that's interesting about this is that it highlights the fact that Cebuano uses a lot of variations of the same words. This is good when it comes to learning, as it means you can probably get a sense of the phrase even if you don't know the specific word. Another contraction that we've used already is ikaw, which is a personal pronoun for you, and this can be shortened to ka. This was used in Kumusta man ka, and in the response Maayong man ikaw. I'll talk more about personal pronouns, I, you, she, he, etc. in the next episode when it comes to introductions. I find grammar quite complicated because it's fairly abstract, And as Cebuano is quite different to English, I only want to use what's useful for the moment, otherwise I can end up getting lost down a rabbit hole. Speaking of getting lost down the rabbit hole, you'll notice that when we wish someone good morning back, as in Maayong, buntag, usab kanimo, we use the word kanimo, you. That's instead of ikaw or ka. And this is because kanimo is the object form of the word, which is used to emphasize the recipient. So instead of confusing you further, I'll touch on that more in detail next time, when I move on to introductions. Next is the word man. Man's an interesting word, as its purpose is to soften the sentence for the sake of politeness. This is why the phrase Kumusta man ka could just as easily be Kumusta ka, or just Kumusta. I like the idea that there are ways of softening what you're saying to keep it polite. So those are the few things I found interesting about the phrases, and now I'll just quickly talk about resources. When it comes to pronunciation, Fidel Hezrel Guido's YouTube channel has a really helpful video on how to pronounce phrases called Useful Bisaya Phrases Polite Greetings, which highlights which parts of the word to emphasize. And also Miguel Yan in his YouTube series Let's Learn Cebuano Visayan covers greetings in his Introductions 1 and Common Greetings video. These include lots of different types of greetings and responses. I'll add more resources to the blog post that's associated with this one on my website. But for now, I will sign off. So if you've got any comments or suggestions, do please feel free to leave a comment below. And if you enjoy the channel, definitely consider subscribing and liking it to show your support. Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye.